Alrighty, it is Tuesday, another book club day here in the Grand Life Network, and I'm so happy to be sitting here with Miss Mimi Jax and Tiny, some of our awesome members here in the Grand Life Network, where we come together every other week and read mind-elevating books, where we dig into these lessons that can literally start transforming our lives. So it's an honor to meet with them every other week and really put in the work to start changing our lives. We don't just talk about it, we don't just like it on Instagram, but we actually get together, make time, set goals, and figure out how we can get this kind of stuff accomplished. So this month we are reading this book called Built to Sell. Turn your business into one you can sell. This is by John Sorry, y'all. I have a speech impediment, so his name is like the hardest thing I can literally say. Warrillow. Okay, Warrillow. Like, got the W's, the R's, the L's. It's crazy. But Warrillow. So, such an awesome book, though. I love it because it's like a story. So the story is this guy has a business where he does digital marketing, basically. He can make logos, build websites, put up pamphlets, that whole business that, your favorite digital designer can basically do. And he gets to this point where he's like, you know what? He has one client that is a bank, and it's like 50% of his business, or 40% to be exact. I don't want to misquote the book. So 40% of his business all comes from this one client, but they're a big client, right? They always need him to make like big posters to put in the windows and update the website and little things like that. But the problem is, because they are this established bank, they only want to work with him. They don't want to work with his team, because his team isn't like an all-star team. He's more of the all-star, and then he has a team that kind of supports him. So he's, kind of running into this cycle of like, he started his own business, but it's way more work than when he was working a regular job. And a lot of us that kind of dive into entrepreneurship start to feel that same uphill battle as well, where it's like, you go from working 9 to 5 to 24/7. Now, if that's short term and, it's just the beginning and you just are in grind mode, that's understandable. But he had been doing this business for a while. So basically, he comes to this point where he's like, you know what? I actually want to just sell my business. So he has this friend who is really well off, and he goes to him for advice. Like, man, I want to sell this business. And his friend also is in that business, like helps people sell their businesses, buy businesses into investing. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. We are going to be coming right out of chapter 2, which is called A Worthless Business, so that we can even understand what a worthless business is and how he got into this position to begin with. So it goes, and his name is Alex is the attorney. Alex is the Alex knew that he can confide in Ted. Okay, let me just skip the names, whatever. Alex knew he can confide in Ted and Tom, so he got to the point. Okay, so I've decided to sell my business. That's a big decision. Let's back up a minute. Why do you want to sell your business? So Alex, this is the guy with the digital business that I told you guys about. So Alex recounted the story of the First National Bank, Sarah and the rest of her mediocre team, and the company's lumpy cash flow. And his cash flow problem was because he was also getting paid after the fact. So he was getting paid once jobs were complete and not before. So he would be doing a lot of work and then getting paid after the fact and like waiting on them to deposit. And he has bills, other people that he has to pay. So that's what that kind of stuff is all basically alluding to. And like I told you guys, his mediocre team. So, having listened to Alex for the better part of 30 minutes, Ted asked a question, and Ted is the investing friend. So he asked a question that seemed somewhat odd. How would you describe your business to a stranger at a cocktail party? Alex thought about this, slightly aggravated to be answering a question Ted already knew the answer to. We're a marketing agency. We create marketing materials like brochures, print ads, and websites. Okay, who's your competition? Alex launched into this list of marketing agencies in town. There are other small shops like Reynolds and Harper, Fuel, and Curve Design. Sometimes we lose out to regional offices of large agencies. There are a lot of freelancers who work from home and... Okay, so you run a home service business highly dependent on one client who in turn demands you personally to tend to their account, and you compete with a lot of other players who provide similar services. You could put it that way. Ted paused for a minute before offering his valuation analysis. Alex, your business is virtually worthless today. Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. He spent 8 years building a business, and the man who he most respected in his life and in business proclaimed it would be worthless. Are you saying I can't sell my business? No, I'm saying you can't sell your business as it is today. If you want to sell it, you need to work on making some changes in your business. I can help, but it won't be easy. You'll need to make some tough decisions and bold changes. Are you prepared to follow my advice? Yes. Well, let's meet every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. In the meantime, I want you to go away and think about what kind of projects you are really good at. Come back next week and we'll talk about what's involved in selling your business. So y'all, I hope some little triggers started firing off, or cylinders started firing off as I was just reading that snippet right there. Because there are so many questions that we can start asking ourselves, whether you have a business right now or you want to start a business, or you are, again, building that business or helping someone else build that business. It's like, does your business depend on you? Because if it does, then that's not really a business per se, right? Because you are then the business at that point, and it's not, again, your business that's valued. It's you. So what else can we pick from there? What sets you apart from your competition? I know we see that one reel oftentimes on like Instagram and stuff where it's like, oh, there's already 1,000 candle companies, but yours can be different. You have something special, so you can still do it as well. And it's like, if that's the route you're going to take and be the 1,001 candle shop, what is setting you apart from your competitors then? Seriously. Seriously, not just the colors, not because you can make it look like a cupcake, but seriously, what is setting your business apart from all these other businesses that are doing the exact same thing that you are doing? And again, how would others value your business and not you? You just heard this. It's like, imagine if you're going on to Shark Tank, right? And you have to give them the logistics of your business so that they can offer a value. Like, oh, if you sell this much and it costs you this much and you're supposed to make this much, then this is how much we can literally put a dollar value on your business. If that dollar cannot be put on your business because it's all on you, that's how you then in turn get to this worthless business. And if that's the case, then again, what you're building isn't going to pay off, right? You're just going to be still stuck in that cycle of having to work and slave to still earn that value, still chasing that dollar, right? As I just read in here, he said he had just been building he'd been building that business for 8 years. And what happened? He became dependent on one client that is, a big client. So you think, oh, this is some type of security that you've been wanting. But what makes that different than you having a boss that can fire you at any time and cut off your water? So it puts you in that same position. And it's like, okay, so how can you create a real business that actually has value and be a valuable business? So in this book, Alex and Ted end up meeting every Tuesday in order to create this whole process for Ted or Alex to be able to sell his business and what was it, 5 years? I think it was a 5-year plan. But basically they also put $1 on his business. Like once your business is valued at $5 million, then you're going to be able to sell your business. Like that's what he wanted, because he wanted to get to that next chapter. So it's like $5 million was the goal, to be able to get his business valued at that. So let's actually read in here how he was going to be able to transform that business. So still in the same chapter here, I'm just going to read a little further down. So this is the follow-up meeting, that second week when Alex is back in the office and he's had time to think about it. His whole week has been crazy. Somebody's asked for a raise. The team is a hot mess. Like it's going crazy in his office, right? That's why he even wants to sell this. So let's get back into it. So Alex has spent time thinking about the type of projects the Stapleton agency was really good at. He started by sifting through a file of thank you letters and testimonials from clients. He looked at the timesheets his designers submitted and tracked them back to his most profitable projects. He also thought about the disaster projects over the last year and made a list of the type of projects that caused the most problems. It seems like the work we're best at is designing logos. We have a system we follow every time we get asked to create a product logo. Clients like the work we produce, and we are able to charge a good dollar because clients know a product logo is something that they will use for a long time. Once we create one product logo, we have our foot in the door, and clients often come back as they launch new products. So Ted considered Alex's conclusion. Well, tell me about the system you follow with creating logos. Well, it's nothing formal, but we always start off by asking our clients to describe their vision of their product and how they differentiate themselves from their competitors. Just like we were already telling him he needed to do, and he's telling his clients that's what they need to do. It's so funny how we can give people advice, but it's hard to oftentimes reflect it back on ourselves. But here, that's the first step he even tells his clients. So back to what he says. Ted begins by making notes. That sounds like a good first step. Let's call that visioning. Okay, so step 1, visioning. All right, well, what's the next step? Asks Ted. After we've established the client's goals, we go through an exercise where we ask the client to personify their product. For example, we'll ask questions like, if your product was a famous actor, who would they be? And if your product was a rock star, who would they be? One of our favorite questions is a little goofy. If your product was a cookie, what kind of cookie would it be? These questions force the client to look at the personality that they want to create through their logo. That sounds quite unique, Alex. Let's call that step 2 and give that a name like personification. Okay, step 2, personification. So what's your next step in designing a logo? Well, then we go into the office, use a pencil and paper to freehand sketch a bunch of ideas, use the business the client is in along with the vision and the personification exercise, come up with a few icons that represent their product. Well, why don't you use a computer for this step? We found that if you use a computer to show a client rough drafts, they tend to focus on small details they don't like instead of judging the concepts. So by showing them concepts in rough, that we force them to focus on high-level ideas instead of details like colors or fonts. So let's call this step sketch concepts. Ted updated his notes to the following. So step 3, sketch concepts. The client will usually like one of our sketches, which is an act of our basis for creating a version on the computer. Again, we limit the variables of a client can see, but only designing in black and white. That way the client judges the logo on the design merits before we get into colors. I've never heard of this design shop doing that. Very smart. Ted added a 4th step to his notes, black and white proofs. Once clients like what they see in black and white, we show them color options, they select one, and after they selected their colors, we provide the client with digital files and a brand standard guidebook, and then our work is done. Ted updated his sheet with the final step in Alex's process. Step 5, final design. Okay, so it sounds like you have a 5-step logo design process. Ted angled his notebook so that Alex could see the notes he had written. Step 1, visioning. Step 2, personification. Step 3, sketch concepts. Step 4, black and white proofs. Step 5, final design. Now, why did I just read that whole thing? Because at first I highlighted the section right before that and the section right after that. But as I started reading, I was like, you know what? Let me really read this section so that, again, as we all go our separate ways, these are the kind of things we can start asking ourselves. What kind of processes are we already doing? What kind of things can we turn into something like this 5-step process, right? Even right before this conversation, when we were talking just amongst each other and checking in, I told you guys I had that 365 days of being consistent challenge that I've given myself. Well, I came up with the cool little process too, where it's like, oh, I know I have to share on YouTube, and that's at the top. And I know when I share on YouTube, then I can take clips from that and then share that on Instagram and TikTok. And when I share it on TikTok, then I can share that on Twitter. And so now I've created this like triangle system of resharing my content on all of my platforms so that it becomes a consistent flow and makes it easier, So again, and that came from an inspiration from reading this book and understanding how to look at what you're doing. And instead of just doing it, creating processes that not only you can follow, but you can package and give to somebody else to follow, because now your strategy that's going to work for you is now a workbook that you can create to help other people that are in your same industry. And I'm sure you guys can get where that is going. So let's get back here into our reading where it says, Alex took in Ted's notes and was surprised to see the process that they had been following unconsciously for some time suddenly appear on paper. What if you focused your business on just doing logos with this 5-step logo design process? Ted asked. Alex immediately recoiled. There is no way we could do a business just on logos. First National Bank doesn't even use us much for their product logos, and they represent 40% of our business today. Plus, our other clients think of us as their agency, and we get asked to do all sorts of projects for them. That's the problem, Alex. You're accepting too many different forms of projects, so you need all kinds of different talent on your team. You're a small shop, so you have to hire generalists who are inevitably not as good as the specialists the big agencies can hire. So you're asking generalists to perform specialist work, and the results are weak. So this is like a little pro tip that they had in there as well, which is being a generalist focuses you to hire generalist employees, and your offering will be average at best. If you specialize, you can hire specialists and improve the quality of your work. So, but if we just do logos, we will have to stop working for First National. Alex, if you are relying on First National provides you with some cash flow, but it's going to make it very difficult to sell your firm. And that's the goal here, right, guys? To sell his firm. Nobody wants to buy a business where 40% of the revenue comes from one company. It's too risky. If you want to sell your business, you must have a diverse group of clients where no one company makes up more than 10 to 15% of your revenue. Another tip, make sure no one client makes up more than 15% of your revenue. And again, pro tip for all of us businesses who may be taking on clients or taking on new business ventures. We want to have multiple avenues. So Alex contemplated this advice for a moment and asked for clarification. So what exactly are you suggesting, Ted? In each business I've sold, we created something I call a standard service offering, which is a consistent process for delivering a service that we focused on at the exclusion of other services. We made sure it was a service client we made sure it was a service clients would need on a regular basis so we can count on recurring revenue. I'm suggesting you become the world's best logo design shop. Write down your 5-step process and start talking to prospects about your standard service offering. I'm not asking you to fire your other clients just yet. Start using the 5-step logo design process with new prospects. Create a 1-page description of your approach to creating logos and find 10 people to pitch it to. And come back next week and tell me how you made out. So if y'all want to know how it turned out, you got to get your book, Built to Sell, and go read and see how Alex's business went. But it is really a good book. And it's really quick. I read this all in like a night. It was like one of those you just start binge reading and you're like, man, I got to see the tips. It's like great tips in there for business and just so much. But again, think about that. Let's touch on that generalist versus specialist. Because we've all heard that phrase so many times, you know. What is it? Master of everything is a master of none, or however it goes. But we all know there's that second part where it's like, oh, a jack of all trades type of thing. I can't remember the quote, so I'm not even going to keep sitting over here trying to butcher it. But you guys know what I'm saying, where it's like you have to understand, like, oh, you're trying to specialize in something, or you're going to keep being general. Because if you're being general, then you're going to be doing general work. Whereas if you specialize, then you're going to be having this special work that's coming out of it. And it also comes down to your team as well, too. Right? Because like he has a whole team where it's like, okay, we're expanding. But again, if you make yourself this big, broad business, and now you make everybody in your company be able to handle multiple different roles instead of just that one role that they're really fantastic at, now instead of them even sharpening that and getting better in that, they're constantly having to learn and grow and do all these other new things. So again, that first step when it comes to like you and your business and figuring out how to find the value in your business, you need to find out what your business is. What is special about your business? What adds value to your business that is not you? What is your business that makes the business special that would make somebody else want to buy it? We just seen Elon Musk offer $43 billion to buy Twitter. He has billions of dollars, so he can go build his own Twitter. But instead of building his own Twitter, he wants to buy that one because everybody's already there. You know, it already has that value. It already has presidents and people of status on there where people are networking, and the hashtags have been working for years, and it already has so many different network effects that if you go and start your own, it's not going to just come with that. So he wants to go buy someone else's. And a lot of people that start these business lose sight that that's what your goal is when you start a business. Even people like Mark Cuban, it's like, or Bill Gates, you know, who sat there and built Microsoft, and it's like Microsoft is this amazing company, but he didn't feel the need to say, man, I need to have Microsoft for forever. No, he built it up to a point where he could sell it, sold it for however much he was looking for, and took that money to now go invest in what he really wants to do, right? So it's like we need to be also looking at these businesses as that as well, where it's like you don't want to be working forever. So even if you're building up a business that you want to have in your family and not necessarily sell off to someone else, maybe, you want to have something that's valuable that your kids can have, you know, that they're not going to have to come and work and slave under, right? We want to, again, create these things that other people can kind of start to run and run for other people. So let me see any other things. So it says, and okay, so I will give a little tidbit here at the end. So it's funny, once he finally did get to his goal, and this just goes into what I was just saying on how sometimes you may not even want to sell that business, right? Because you want to keep it in your family. So it's funny, and once, you know, Alex keeps working and finally reaches his goal of somebody offering, $5 million to buy his business, he didn't even want to sell it. He's like, man, the company is doing so great. I've got this awesome team. And we are just like everything's flowing the way it's supposed to be. But he's still working. He's still having to make logos. He knows that, with more clients, then he's going to have to hire more salespeople and continue to always still put out fires. So it's like, okay, well, do you want to keep doing that for another 5 years? Or, again, do you want to sell at this point and spend the next 5 years using the things that you've learned now to be able to start building the next thing? And maybe, again, we can use these tools at least to be able to build something that is not necessarily our passion, but something that makes sense, and then be able to put it into something else. I think a really great example is there's this one big influencer, Trishana. I know Tiny is familiar with her on Instagram because we met in this Fire Your Boss University that they used to have, where it's how to make your 6-figure business. And why she's such a great example is because her business that she started was a rolled ice cream shop. Now, she wasn't passionate about ice cream and loved ice cream so much, and ice cream was in her family. It's the fact that she's understood, wow, this is a luxury product. It's ice cream, but it's rolled. It's you get to create stuff on it, and you get this Chipotle effect and the Starbucks effect, and this whole almost like hibachi of ice cream, really, because you get to see them break up the ice cream and roll it and drizzle it and really create this whole experience, right? So it's now you're really charging top dollar for ice cream. So getting into the business of it, it's wow, it made sense. So she wrote a business plan, got funding for it, because pitching the idea to banks, if it makes sense, they're going to invest in it because they see the return as well. Able to put that in a position where now she has multiple shops and now is able to use the revenue. Guess what her passion really is? Fashion. Now she's able to use those her revenue that she's made and paid herself for to actually now start putting into her business that she really wants. Now able to go and really hire the designers that she wants to hire, and hire the influencers that she wants to hire to wear her stuff, and go and explore these different countries and touch the fabrics and really explore the industry that she wanted to be in and the way that you want to do that. So understanding these strategies, again, it's build a business that you can put you in a position to earn X, Y, and Z, and then get on to the next step. And I think, again, just understanding, even if you don't want to sell your business, understanding how to build a business that will hold value is so important, because we all kind of confuse ourselves and our businesses, and that's a big difference. And that's why I even really have wanted to touch on this book, because that's I don't want to say life or death in a business, but it's life or death when it comes to burnout. Are you going to be burnt out because every single client has to go through you? Every single thing has to go through you? Or are you creating a system where you can hire a CEO that actually does all the day-to-day stuff? Are you actually creating a system where you can hire a manager that can go and actually talk to all the other people that you've had to hire, the freelancers and all this kind of stuff, so that you can focus on what you have to do? Or are you the one running around all day having to do this, having to do that, and it being constant? And when we figure out how to dive into these kind of books and take these gems that these real live investors are putting out there, hey, if I was to invest in a business, this is how I will evaluate it. And here's what you can do to transform your business from now to get to where you want it to be. Because that's also the moral of our conversation today. When he first went in there, his business was worthless. But Ted didn't say that was the end of it. He didn't say, nope, you got to just work forever. No, he said, if we meet here weekly, you put in the work, and we come up with a great strategy, then you'll be in a position where you can sell that business for exactly what you want to sell it for. So, my question for you all today is, let me see. What would you be able to sell your business today? And it's a two-part question, right? So first, I want everybody to answer: would you be able to sell your business today? And after that, I would like everybody to kind of touch on what is special about your business. What does your business specialize in? Right? Because again, those are our two-part questions. One, could you sell your business today? Yes or no? Two, what does your business specialize in? What do you focus on when it comes to your business? So I know I've been rambling on quite a bit, so I've kind of got my answer put together, but I would love to hear from Mimi or Tiny first to hear about your thoughts about the book so far and an answer to our two-part question. All right, Miss Mimi.
Okay. I was like, let me take myself off mute and not hang up. Oh my gosh, so many thoughts about the book, but I will keep it brief because you did cover a lot of it. It made me think about a particular interview that I heard. The owner of Honey Pot, it's a black woman. I can't think of her name, but she had a really good interview, and she talked about how, a company's like pride and joy is to be wanted by other companies, and like that's her goal.
Right.
And she kind of took it back a little bit in her interview. And I remember this. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, it was a huge deal in the black community when BET sold. I think they sold it to Viacom. I'm not for sure, but they
Mm-hmm.
sold it to for a bunch of money, like whoever the owner was or what have you at that time. And it was a big deal. Like, oh my God, this is for us. Like, how could you sell it? And she kind of broke that down, and it's like that's the goal. And even
Right.
in her goal of getting funding for Honey Pot, she had to do like so much research because, I don't know if you guys use her products, but it's her logo is basically like made by females for females. Is the synopsis of it says something different, but I'll just keep it PG. So she talks about that and it's so important, but when she went to go get funding for it, it was kind of a struggle, but she had to come in really strong because one, there were big brands that had taken over that particular part in the market, right? And, trying to prove that, she had a product that was needed, which it has proven to be needed, and she's still doing really well in her business or what have you. But ultimately, the goal was to sell, and then she kind of broke down the importance of it selling so that someone coming up behind her that's young, woman of color, they need like that was her biggest challenge was trying to find a reference to show like in this market for black women or just women in particular, there's a need for this product for someone that is a woman. Like she didn't have enough research from previous businesses. So now she got funding, so now she could be that reference for someone coming up behind her. And she talked about like how important that was and just kind of like helping me understand and see how it is important that your business is valuable and people want it. Not just your product or service, but just even other companies are interested to pay $40 billion
Right.
because you're that good. So that's what I wanted to say about that. But as far as answering the question, it's a no for me, and it's a no because, as I stated in previous book clubs, um, the businesses, and I'm doing quotes, air quotes, that I have been involved in are connected where I'm a consultant. So it's not necessarily my thing. And that's something that I've been actively working on changing is creating and developing my own, because I thankfully have gained a lot of skills, um, leadership, A lot of times when you're in businesses like that, you are the advertisement, you are the CEO of your particular franchise, I'll say. You're the accountant, you're all of these things. And so I've learned a lot in that. And I've also learned as my business, air quotes, have grown to hire help because I can't do it all. I want to do it all. I know I want things done a certain way, but any successful business, the owner or CEO is not doing every freaking job.
Right.
So, did I answer? What was the other part of the
Yeah,
question?
and so I was just about to say that. So that second part of the question is, what makes your business special? What does your business specialize in? Like you said, for you, to be able to, like you said, I know maybe our listeners, if y'all don't know what we talking about, make sure y'all go listen to our previous book club so that you do, because we be getting into it, and we've been building up. That's why we even keep still having these, because we all right here, right? Mimi's building her businesses and is putting herself in this position, to go from consultant to now building her own kind of brand. And so as you're transforming and transitioning into, you starting your own brand and wanting to create a business around that, what are those things that you're, creating that makes the business that you are in, this health and wellness space, special and different, and in a way that is not going to need you to go out and go on Instagram lives to, tell everybody about it, but be, so that you don't have to do everything. And I know maybe that's even like a more of a longer question, because right now while you're building that business, I know you're still establishing your brand where you kind of have to be out there talking about everything. But as you are growing, because you've already started hiring a team, I know you were one of the first people that put me on, like, no, go on Fiverr, hire you some virtual assistants, like, do not play. They could go run your Instagram, they could run the Facebook groups, and so I think that's really great that you have those virtual assistants. But in this next form of business, no air quotes, because it's your business for real that you growing into now. What is this special business that you are transitioning to in, some ways that you can, listening to this book and thinking about that interview that you're just referring to, like, what are some of those ways that you're putting this business into its own special light that other businesses would, want to buy, or other customers would want to take part in?
That's a great question. I'm thinking about it. And my initial answer is, like, I'm the sauce. Like, I'm the secret sauce.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like that goes against the point of the book.
It does.
Also, because, like you said, where you don't have to be, so
Because
hands-on. And
think about it, in
book
8 years, you don't want to still be a secret sauce, right?
I know, because I'm just so hands-on, and I love connecting with people. And so in the health and wellness space, because I've had such a journey, I think maybe, like, just being able to document. So it's very important for me to have gone through, like, when we did the challenge. It's important for me to have that personal experience first. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been in the gym, or you've ever, like, looked at getting a trainer, and you see these people who are, like, really fit, and then there's some other people that is just, like, not so much, but they're trainers and they're telling you what to do. I'm not motivated. Like, I'm not motivated. If you're telling me to do something, I can clearly look at you and know that you're not doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that's why in the health and wellness space, I am that way. So this is going to be,
girl, I had a light bulb right there, and maybe it's because I was sitting over here reading this book aloud again with you all. But it's like, again, creating that process, like you said, because first of all, in that industry, that's a big gap. Every single day I see a new health trainer hopping on Instagram, like, let's do these one-on-one Zoom sessions and drink this shake and all this kind of stuff. But like you said, there's no proof in the pudding. I'm not believing it, so I'm not buying it. But what if Mimi's health and wellness coaching, and then we wouldn't even call it Mimi's, because again, we don't want it to be Mimi. We want it to be the elite health and wellness program right here, right? Like, again, separating ourselves from it. But it could be like, here is a 6-week program, because also I think with all that you've learned, and especially how the Melaleuca is with it, like those 6-week programs and how they're like broken down by the 2 weeks, and each of those 2 weeks is for you to be able to fast and then bring stuff back and then get back to regular life. And then in that whole process, there's meetings on Facebook, and our text group was so motivational. Creating just a place to have stuff like that, like, oh, you want to be a health and wellness coach, come through this, maybe even make it longer than 6 weeks, maybe like 60 days or 90 days, so that these coaches really, really, really start applying what they're living. I would say 90 days, because shoot, when you go to a job, you got a 90-day period for everybody to see if this is really going to work out, But it's like,
it's your probationary period.
Exactly. So come through this program for 90 days, where you're going to get all the support to learn how to, number one, transform your life, but also have this super awesome community of other coaches that have gone through it and going through it and coaching that can support you on your way. And now you know all the sauce, so that now you can go through and be a health and wellness coach, right? And so now that you're providing that kind of like certificate, even you can even take it that far, like, yeah, they done passed this course, they and of course it wouldn't be a certified certificate, but plenty of people that start their own businesses start their own forms of verification, where it's like, at least now this shows again to those people that are wanting to get in health and wellness, that, it gives credibility to that coach to say, hey, I've gone through this program, I've done it, and I'm credible, or at least I've committed to it, right? And I've got this system behind me as well, so that I know what I'm doing a little bit. And in that still allows you to be hands-on and be, that person in the community as much as you want and as less as you want, because your community will be growing and start to be able to carry itself. And you can have a outline process, like, this is what you should be doing in week 1, or even day by day, as down to the nitty-gritty as you would really want, and creating these different processes that these coaches can follow, so that you can give it right to them and just more, be a support from the back, but they're still using your sauce without needing Mimi there to serve it up.
Right. It's definitely got me thinking differently, and so I'm glad we've read this book for sure.
Yes, agreed. I know Tiny says she has not been feeling well, so I don't know, Tiny, if you want to unmute to pop in if you are feeling better, please feel free. But yeah, Built to Sell, great book. I actually ordered mine off of thrift books. I love ordering thrift books because they're only like $5 on there, but I'm sure it's on Amazon as well. Probably not too much. It only resold for like actually $17, but on Amazon they still be cheap too, like $10 or so. So for all of our listeners, if you have not read Built to Sell, make sure you go buy this book, read it, have it in your library, because it's definitely one of those that's going to start getting those gears going and start shifting that mindset. And that's what we all are here for. In these businesses, none of us have gone to a business university, right? None of us have our business degrees. We are all, well, I don't want to say none of us, but even if you have a business degree, and even if you have gone to college for business and know a little something, you can always get better, right? These books, it always is like a notch added to our tool belt, where it's like, okay, here's another way we can think of that. And again, that's why I say read this whole book, because just like I have read a few little pro tips, that's what this book is all about. They're weekly meetings with how, Ted telling Alex what he needed to do that week, and there was times he had to make some hard decisions, but you see how he pushes through, he commits to the process, and comes out on the other side, along with Ted giving some awesome pro tips for real business owners, like even how it says not to allow just one client to be 10 to 15% of your revenue, right? Because then that one client starts acting shaky, or it just, again, becomes like that same, your boss, right? If they need something, you gotta jump when they say jump. And the whole point of creating these businesses is to be creating a freedom, and we want to be creating ways that we can actually free ourselves, however that looks. So definitely make sure y'all check that out. But this has been an awesome conversation. Definitely has my gears going. Oh, I didn't even share mine. So I would say for my personal business, which is the Grand Life Network, no, I would not be able to sell it. And that is my fault, because when I first started it, I would always be like, it's not even a business. It's more like I would just always be like, it's not a business. And that's only because I didn't want my intentions being looked at like I was looking for something, because those never what my intentions are. And then as time moved forward, it's like, okay, well, how can we evolve this into something more? Because businesses make sense, right? And that's why I always end up defaulting to just creating things into the form of a business, because then otherwise you end up just putting a lot of time and effort into things that don't end up making sense. Now, if it's a hobby and something you just are super passionate about, awesome. And that's what the Grand Life Network has started out as, right? A bunch of women that were just passionate about their businesses and wanting to help each other. And then we started to even take that further with Instagram lives, and then bringing in authors. And then once we started having the pop-up shops though, and it was like, wow, how can we actually help these businesses? How can we actually bring these businesses together and start building stuff that can be successful? Like when the first pop-up shop that we had with Tiny, and I remember that was so special to me, because I remember she had just had like a car accident and was in the middle of moving. And for us to be able to come together with our little network and help her sell out her jewelry, earn a couple $100, and know like how that much of an impact helped a small business, it's like, no, I need to get this into gear for real and change this into more of something like a business where, you know, this is something that if it's formed like a business, then we can continue to help businesses like this better than going on Instagram to talk about one person's book or open mic night and things that were enjoyable and good for our soul and healing us. Yes, but there's also that extra layer to help us, again, start building freedom. So Grand Life Network, I would say no, I cannot sell it at this time. But what does make it special is the idea of it, having this group chat set up and having all the different channels here. If you guys can see my screen, and this is for recording purposes, as you can see here, these are all the different chats we have here. We have a chat for God, the book club, Road to Success, where we sell or post our monthly goals, generational wealth, writing network, health and wellness, music, goals, pop-up shop, like boss babe tips, food network, motherhood, desired raw babes, like, and some of those are ran by our actual community members, because that's what they do, and a place for them, and a place for them to be able to share. So again, you know, the way that it's organized, the idea behind it, even making the book club the primary focus, right? Even I've had to start to shift it around where it's like, okay, we've created it to be more of an intimate group. Instead of being like, oh, let's, you know, get as many moms and as many women in it, it's like, no, let's get the women in it that want to read together, that want to share the gems that are going to help their fellow sister and their fellow mother. And let's get together in that sense and focus on the books and focus on the tools and the resources and these lessons that are going to actually help each other change our mindsets and our lives in essence. So shifting it to that book club and being that what makes it special, like this book club and intimate group chat that comes with it, and the network of women that is going to come with that, I think is what is going to make it special. So Those are some differences I'm going to do with Grand Life Network. But I can say, after reading Built to Sell like a few months ago, before I started Raw, that's why I even read Built to Sell, because when I started Raw DAO, which is like this Web3 project that I've been working on, especially like Tiny's involved, Mimi's in there, and we have so many, we've like at 150 members in that chat, and we are just getting started. The team's like 20 people on the team at this point, and it's just so exciting to see it grow. And I was very intentional when I started that, because I read this book before that. Like, man, if I'm starting this Web3 business, I already understand, especially building a tech business, like understanding that's how people like Mark Cuban became Mark Cuban and Bill Gates became Bill Gates, by building tech companies and selling them for crazy amounts of money, and then taking that to then go invest in what they actually want to invest in. So it's like, okay, here we are in this Web3 space, building this tech project. So it's like, let's really think about this in a way that makes sense, in a way that puts us in a position where we can sell it. Even if we decide we don't want to sell, we want to be in that position where we can sell it. And again, Mimi, that even goes off of what you were just saying about the honeypot lady, where it's like, that's the goal. And a lot of people that start these small businesses think that, they're creating these businesses to pass down. It's like, so you want your babies out here making candles for all of their lives? Or are you building, again, something that's going to be an entire thing that you can just pass down to them, that they're going to be reaping the benefits from, instead of having to work and, put in that groundwork in order to kind of keep building. And I'm not hitting on candle businesses, because I love candle businesses, but it's just a lot of them. And again, why I say thinking about stuff like this Built to Sell, it's like, if you're building up a candle business because you want to sell it to other candle businesses, or just shifting that mindset, where it's like, if that's the road you want to go down, here are some awesome tools in order to enhance that business so that you can be successful no matter what the business is. So awesome gems dropped tonight. Mimi, did you have anything else you wanted to add or say?
No, this was really good.
Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, ladies, for joining. We are here every other Tuesday talking about these awesome books. We have not revealed our book for next month just yet, so be on the lookout for that. Looks like our next book club would actually be May 3rd, which is like the exact date of my lock-iversary. Woo woo. So May 3rd, we will be back here in our book club. And we coming strong. We've got some awesome ideas brewing with how we're going to start taking this up a level, with maybe streaming live on YouTube so that you guys can actually take part, comment in the YouTube comments if you want. We'll be sharing it on Spotify, and again, just so many ideas to help all of us elevate and help each other along the way. So thank you guys for listening. Get in touch with us so you can join the conversation, and stay tuned for all that's in store. Peace.